Hiya, my name is Jess and welcome to my channel, Have a Book at This. Today I'm going to be filming my January 2016 wrap-up video. I read 4 books this month, which isn't that bad going considering that I've had exams and schoolwork and exams and exams. I had so many exams. The first book I read this month was The Thief by Whalen Turner. So this book tells the story of, as you may have guessed from the title, a thief who claims that he can steal anything. And that is the very loud and public claim that ended up landing him in prison. So whilst in prison, he is visited by the magus of the country's prison that he is in, and he is offered a chance at freedom in exchange for stealing like a rare artifact called HaveABookAtthis. It's a Greek name, I can't pronounce Greek names. But anyway, he has to steal a rare artifact called HaveABookAtthis gift. This book was thoroughly enjoyable. Whalen Turner has a writing style that's very unique. I've heard it described as sort of bare bones writing, and that I think is a really accurate description. So yeah, I was actually really pleasantly surprised that I got those 4 in there, but I thoroughly enjoyed all of them, and let's just get on with my little reviews. It's very much broken down into like action and consequence, but what's so great about that style is that it means that every single sentence and every single word that she writes has meaning and it's significant in the end. The sort of first half of the book was much more slower paced because it's pretty much just them travelling to a location that they need to get to, but the last half was unbelievably fast paced and had so many twists and turns, like my brain could hardly keep up with it. It was told in first person, and I loved our main character Jen, who was very snarky and very witty. The world was very unique. I believe that it's based on sort of ancient Greek culture, which was something I haven't really seen in a lot of fantasy worlds. Overall, I found this a thoroughly enjoyable read and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was a reread of one of my favourite books of all time, which is Jellico Road by Melina, Marchetta, also published as On the Jellico Road. So this is set in Australia and it follows a young woman called Taylor Markham who, when she was 11 years old, was abandoned at a 7-Eleven on the Jellico Road by her mother, who was a drug addict and an alcoholic. So Taylor was taken into the local boarding school and was watched over very often by a young woman named Hannah, who Taylor suspects has some sort of connection with her mother from the past. But then one day Hannah, who is very possibly the only adult that Taylor trusts, disappears, leaving behind a manuscript that she's been working on which details the life of 5 kids in the 80s. This is kind of a mystery contemporary book, and it's absolutely beautiful. Melina Marchetta, her greatest sort of strength in writing, I feel, is characterization. She knows how to craft really human characters that you just fall in love with, and she also knows how to take a character that you don't think you're going to like at all, but then completely change your perspective on them. And very much like The Thief, this was quite a plot twisty book, but I really loved that. I loved not being sure of what Melina Marchetta was going to spring on me next, because there were so many twists that it just kept me gripped from start to finish. The writing is gorgeous. The setting of like rural Australia is also really beautiful, and one that I don't see very often. This is a really heartbreaking book, and I can't read it that often because I find it quite hard to get through where it's so emotionally impactful, but it is amazing and I would 100% recommend it, and of course it was 5 out of 5 stars for me. The next book I read was The Absolutely True Diary of the Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. So this is the story of Arnold Spirit, who lives on a Native American reservation in Spokane, Washington, and it essentially follows him as he decides to transfer for a year over to a rich white school, pretty much all white. I don't think there are any Indians that go to this school. And this book, this diary, takes place during that first year in which he transfers. Sherman Alexie really got the voice of Arnold. I believe Arnold's 13, 14, but he got the voice absolutely spot on. I felt like I was in a teenage boy's head, which is something that I don't think is easily done. I think it's quite a hard voice to pull off. Arnold is also a cartoonist, and I can't find who the illustrations were done by right now. I can't remember the name, but they were absolutely amazing and they really added to the book. There's a little demonstration for you right there. This book was also quite heartbreaking, but in a different way, and it really shed a light on a lot of topics that I did not have much knowledge of beforehand, and I really adored it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And the final book I read this month was I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. So this also takes a diary format like the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, but it's set in 1930s, 1940s England, and it follows a young woman called Cassandra Mortmain, who lives in a crumbling English castle with her reclusive writer father, her stepmother and her older sister Rose. So Cassandra wants to be a writer, so she starts keeping a diary in order to practice her writing techniques and capture the castle. title drop. And one day some very rich American heirs show up at the castle doors, the Cottons, and one of them, Simon, ends up developing quite an interest in Cassandra's older sister Rose. So this book is all about Cassandra falling in love, finding her way, learning to write. It's very much a coming of age story. I really enjoyed this. Again, something I thoroughly enjoyed about this was the voice. I felt that Cassandra's voice was very well developed. The characters were all very quirky but at the same time believable. I actually really enjoyed reading about Rose, who's Cassandra's sister. She can be a very irritating character at times, but she was really well drawn and I very much enjoyed reading about her. I did have some issues with this book. I felt that despite the fact that Cassandra's voice was gripping, it was a little slow paced in places, and where it was divided into sections, sometimes I get bored when I hit the end of a section. But overall, I thought that this was a really impressive and immersive reading experience. It had so many great descriptions. You really felt like you were in the locations of the book. So overall, I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so that is my January wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. What books did you read and enjoy in January? Let me know and leave a comment. But until then, thank you for watching. Goodbye.